Morning Talk with Siki Mgabadeli.
In conversation right now with Frederick Heyns, who's Director for Legal Processes with the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development. Frederick, good morning.
Good morning.
Let's talk a little bit about, firstly, when the Criminal Procedure Act was amended to provide for the expungement of certain criminal records. When did that happen?
That was in 2009. The Act came into operation during May of 2009.
Okay. And in that time, have you had a flurry of activity there?
Yes, we've received quite a number of applications. From May till the end of that year, we've received about 3,200. The next year, from January to December, there was an increase to 4,900, and very close to 5,000. And for the last full year, that is from January 2011 till the end of December, we've received 6,700. It's nearly 7,000. So there are still a steady increase. Okay, so there's been a steady increase. Obviously, people starting to know that this is possible to do, finding out how to do it, and then handing in their applications. So who qualifies? What are there certain criminal records that do qualify and others that don't? Yeah, well, the basic requirement is that the conviction should be 10 years old. After a period of 10 years since the conviction, you qualify. And then the other main requirement is that you should not have been sent to prison. Basically, all other types of sentences, you will qualify. If you've been sent to prison or you've been given a fine of more than 20,000 rand. Otherwise, you will basically qualify. Okay, so the conviction needs to be 10 years old. You should have not been sent to prison, and your fine should have not been more than 20,000 rand. 20K, all right, 20,000. There are some minor other requirements also in specific cases. Yeah. For instance, you will not qualify if during that 10-year period you've been sent to prison for another offense. Oh. Or if the offense was of a sexual nature and a child was involved and your name had been included in the National Register for Sex Offenders or the National Child Protection Register, where the victim was a child or a mentally disabled person. Ah, okay, or a disabled person. So what is the process and what do people need to do, Frederick? Well, it's actually a very simple process. Basically, they need to obtain their clearance certificate from the police. There are various ways, but basically that's the start of the process, so that you can see what is your criminal convictions. Then you have to complete a prescribed form that is available on our website and at all justice offices. You have to complete the prescribed form, attach your clearance certificate to the form, and post it to the Department of Justice or hand deliver it here in our at our head office in Pretoria. All right. And how long does it take? It depends. If we have all the information available and we do not have to make further inquiries, it won't take longer than four months at the most. But you know, with the increase of matters, it's not always possible to give you an exact date. But that, I would say, that is more or less the maximum period. So you would get the application and then you would verify that everything on there is the truth. So there's the investigation process, right? That's correct. That's correct. Okay, so hence you'd need about four months, as you say. And then it needs to be verified by different officials and so forth. And in the end, at the legislature at the moment, our Director General has to make the final decision in this regard and has to order the expungements. Thereafter, we sent this order to the police to have your criminal record expunged.
All right. We're going to take some calls and read some SMSs sent through to 34701. Tabiso in Durban, good morning.
Very good morning. Thanks for taking my call. I've read the Act. I've actually visited the Act and went through it.
Yeah.
But I still think the committee who passed such should reconsider the following. Just a quick one. The 10-year waiting period, it is absolutely long. I'm talking from experience, in a sense that when you are rehabilitated, you've got a lenient sentence. For instance, a simple sentence like whereby you were fighting on the street and you find guilty of common assault.
Yeah.
It was you'll be given a suspended sentence of 3 years with a fine of 2,000 rands. Why can't our comrades and the ANC officials reconsider that? Because it's one of the elements that creates unemployment in this country. I'm in a security environment. I do employ security guards, and it's such a sad thing to actually get rid of staff because they've got as minor cases. So the idea of the government waiting for 10 years, it is absolutely uncalled for, and that should be considered and reviewed. At least give people 5 years. Okay. But why? How will you put a person for 10 years to wait for a lenient crime that happened 5 years ago, whereby people have shown remorse, they've rehabilitated, they've gone for counseling? Why do you still wait them for 10 years?
All right. Is that the only thing that you want reconsidered?
Absolutely. Okay. On that act, it's only the 10-year period. Okay. I understand about the sexual offense. Yeah. I understand about the 20,000 fine and the imprisonment. Those are fine. Yeah. But the only problem is the waiting period. It's having such detrimental, negative effects in our society, especially the blacks.
Okay. Thanks, Tabiso. Fikile in Cape Town, morning.
Hello. Thank you, ma'am, for taking my call, and I love to greet your guest also. Siki, and thank you again for responding to my email. I've got a very big problem here, Siki. I once, around about 1995, I made a mistake by including myself or doing crime, and then I was sentenced with a maker during 1995. Yeah. And then I was released in 97. After I was released in 1997, there was an unlawful arrest, one of the unlawful arrests happened in Cape Town. That happened to me in 2006, late 2006. In that unlawful arrest, I was told to appear in court on the 22nd of February. That was 2007. But when I was there, my name was on the list. I was called. But when I went in the box, I'm asked by the judge where I was back in the previous day. So I was confused and could see that I was confused. Everybody could see that I was confused. But the very biggest problem is that I was sentenced of not appearing in court the previous day. I begged the judge after giving me a fine of 200 rand, in which I only had 180 in my pocket. I begged the judge to at least give me a fine of 180. But the judge refused because I had a record of what I've done way back in years back. I don't know what to do, ma'am. I was sentenced only because of not appearing in court the previous day, in which they could have understood if I didn't have any record. And still they could have understood if I was a big person with money. They could have maybe made some ways of not getting sentenced for not appearing in court yesterday, in which they understood that I was never aware of not appearing, that I was supposed to have appeared in court the previous day.
Okay, so
but the judge was very much unfair with me. So I've got a question to the gentleman. What is it that I should do? Because it's very much taxing, and now I've got another 10 years to wait since 2007 for not appearing in court, and not for what I was arrested for.
Okay, and that's on your record now, that 2007.
Yeah, but a new record now that I have to wait for another 10 years. Yeah. You see, because of an unlawful arrest, and because of not appearing now in court for the previous case, in which I didn't know what happened with the case, because it was an unlawful arrest. I was only sentenced only for not appearing to court. All right.
Let me hear what Frederick has to say. Thanks, Figila. Frederick, let's start with Figila. In a case like that, what would you say?
You're referring to the last case.
Yes,
now.
The last case. We'll get to the first one in a moment.
Yeah. Well, I think basically the idea with an expungement is not for the Department of Justice to sort of the legal processes to determine whether you've been found guilty regularly or whether something was wrong there. This is a simple process that it's sort of automatically qualify after 10 years if certain requirements were met. if you're not happy with a conviction or something went wrong, this is not the right process to follow. Then you must make use of the procedures available to you to take it on appeal or to have the matter reviewed.
And getting it reviewed, what is that process?
Well, basically, you will have to go, if the matter was heard originally in a magistrate's court, you will have to take the matter on review to one of the high courts that have jurisdiction in that area.
In the juris. Okay, well, you can take it to a high court. But this happened in 2007. I mean, is it too late? Do you have to, is there a time frame within which one can ask for a review?
There are time frames, but even there is also a provision that if you did not take it on review during that period, that you can get special permission from the courts on good grounds. If there are good grounds why you did not take it on review within the prescribed period and so forth, there won't be a problem. The court will grant you permission to carry on even outside the prescribed time period.
I'm going to get to the calls in a moment, but Tabitha in Durban is saying, he's happy with elements of the Act. The only thing that he's concerned with is the 10-year waiting period, particularly if the crime is something not very serious. Yeah,
I mean, a 10-year period is basically the period in which courts take previous convictions into account if they again find you guilty or not. There may be a difference of opinion whether it should be 10 years or 9 or 8 or 7. All that I can say is at that stage when the 10-year period was approved, Parliament felt at that stage that is the most the best period of time. But at that stage, they also said that the Act will be reviewed after a few years, and we are currently looking at the proposals being made in this regard. So there are people that feel that the 10-year period is too long, and this is an aspect that will be kept in mind.
And maybe, you look at different categories of crimes and allocate different time frames for how long people take. All right, I'm going to take some calls. We're going to have to go to news as well, so I'm going to just steal a few minutes of your time after news, Frederick, if you don't mind.
Sure.
All right. Let's hear from Ulisile in Mafikeng. Morning.
Hello, Siki.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Yeah, 1994, I made, a 17-year-old girl was convicted for common assault. Hello?
Yes, I'm listening.
Yes. And she was cautioned and discharged.
Okay.
That's in 1994. And later, she found an employment in a financial institution. And she couldn't get the job because of the 1994 old matter of caution and discharge. Simple common assault. I personally drove to Pretoria to make an application on behalf of the young girl 12 years later. And the process was so lengthy. Now, I think this expungement process is worse than labor broking. Labor broking is much better because it can still say, do some job here. But that one prevents people completely from getting employment. And that's a dangerous situation.
Just describe to me what
that's a process that needs to be banned.
Yeah, just describe to me the process and what happened.
I went to a local magistrate court. I was issued with a form. I completed the form, drove 300 kilometers to Pretoria, submitted it personally. It was received. It was declined because it was a wrong form. And there in Pretoria, they gave me another form which I completed there and there on behalf of my clients and left it there. To date, as I'm talking to you now, that sentence has not been expunged yet.
No.
I agree with the gentleman about the process, the 4 months, the 6 months waiting and so on. But that is worse than labor broking. I agree with the gentleman who spoke earlier about the
10-year waiting period.
I agree with you.
Okay. So, but now if she was questioned and discharged, so at that time she didn't realize that she'd been convicted for it?
Pardon?
She didn't realize that she had been convicted for it until she was applying for a job. Is that what she was saying?
At the time she was 17 years only. She was a minor. It was a group of students studying together.
Yeah.
An argument started in the so-called, if I may put it that way, accused person.
Okay.
Home, and the accused person overpowered the other student in her parental home, in the absence of the parents. And the other student went to the police station. The police station rushed and took fingerprints of the young girl, processed to Pretoria. You understand? And the young girl knows nothing about that process. She's not aware that she was sitting with a previous conviction.
Yeah, that's my concern. That's my concern, that she might be unaware.
And that's why I'm saying this expungements process is far worse than labor broking.
All right. I'll see what Frederick has to say about that. Thanks, Olufile. Thanks for your call this morning.
Yeah, is it possible for you to get me the telephone number of the gentleman who's in the studio now so that I can communicate with him?
Yeah.
Because
wait, Olufile, hold on. I'm out of time. It's 11:01. So stay on the line. We're going to take your contact details.
All right.
Pass them on, okay? Stay on the line for me.
All right.
All right.
SAFM, South Africa's news and information leader.
Our top story is government dealt a blow in the Walmart deal and Greece receives some debt relief. Good morning, I'm Vignesh Naidu. Government's legal challenge to the Walmart deal has failed. The Competition Appeal Court has rejected an argument by 3 cabinet ministers that they did not receive a fair hearing before the Competition Tribunal, which approved Walmart's takeover of South Africa's Massmart Group. Judge Dennis Davis has ruled that there was insufficient evidence that the detrimental effects of the merger would outweigh the benefits to consumers. However, the courts demanded greater clarity about an undertaking by the new group to set up a 100 million rand program for the development of South African supplies. Judge Davis has ordered the establishment of a panel of experts to report within 3 months on related issues. Police are investigating after a man was shot dead and his girlfriend wounded in an apparent hit in Reiger Park in Gauteng's East Rand last night. Police later managed to apprehend one of the 4 suspects. He'll appear in the Boksburg Magistrates Court on Monday. Police spokesperson Katlego Mogale.
A 47-year-old man and his girlfriend were shot at in Popcorn Valley in Reiger Park. They were approached by a white vehicle with 4 occupants, and one of them alighted from the vehicle and fired shots at the couple, fatally wounding the man and seriously injuring the woman. The manhunt yielded results when a 27-year-old man was arrested at Cosmo Street. There will be ongoing operation in Reiger Park to locate other outstanding suspects in this matter as well as in the matter of Gavin Adam.
KwaZulu-Natal police have confirmed that National Freedom Party youth movement leader Andile Biela has been shot and wounded at the Machana area in the north of the province. Police spokesperson Tulani Zwane says Biela was with his friends when a group of men approached and opened fire, hitting Biela in the leg. Zwane says it's too early to determine if the shooting is politically motivated.
A case of attempted murder has been opened after Andy de Biela was shot and wounded at Machana area in Expungements last night. Police received information that a man has been shot and wounded in Machana area and they proceeded to the area and they noticed that the man was wounded to his thigh. He was taken to hospital for treatment. A case of attempted murder has been opened for further investigation. No arrests have been made and the motive is unknown at this stage.
The case of fraud against former investment broker and alleged scamster Michael Terrain from Knysna is expected to be heard in the George Regional Court in the Southern Cape today. He's accused of defrauding investors, mainly pensioners, of more than 10 million rands. MPA spokesperson Eric Ntabazalila says Terrain allegedly lured pensioners to invest in an unsuccessful pyramid scheme.
His modus operandi was to ask them to invest in a property deal where he did pay something with that, but he seemed to have run out of funds, and then he was arrested when the police found out that he was running sort of a pyramid scheme.
The Greek government announced that more than 85% of its private creditors have signed up to join a multi-billion euro bond swap. The deal will see more than 100 billion euros of Greece's debt written off, but the creditors will take losses on their investments as much as 74%. The BBC's Mark Lone reports.
The government will be extremely relieved. It will feel that it has got over the immediate hurdle before it, which would be bankruptcy as early as later this month when it faces massive bond redemptions that it couldn't afford. But for, of course, ordinary Greeks, it provides little relief because they are still struggling with the worst recession since the Second World War in this country. Figures released in the last few days show that unemployment has now soared to over 20%, 21%, and among young people it's at 51%. And so really they feel as though this deal does little for them.
Our top story at 11 o'clock, the government's legal challenge to the Walmart deal has failed. More news at 11:30.
Morning Talk with Siki Mgabadeli.
And it's 5.5 minutes past 11, continuing our conversation on getting your criminal record expunged, what the process is and under what circumstances. In conversation with Frederick Heyns, who's Director for Legal Processes from the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development. Just to remind you, in a few minutes' time, we're going to be celebrating the 47th anniversary of our sister station, Mongana Lolene FM. That conversation in a few minutes' time. We're going to take some calls on the expunging your criminal record, though. So if you'd like to call in, we've got a few more minutes with Frederick. So call us on 0891104207, and I haven't forgotten the SMSs. I can see them, and we'll get to those. But Frederick, maybe you want to just respond to what Olifile was saying, because one of the concerns there is that here's a minor who wasn't even aware of their conviction, and they find out when they're trying to apply for a job.
Yes, I think this is exactly why programs like this morning is so important, that it makes people aware of the solution, if I can call it that, to that problem, and that is the expungement process. If people are aware in the circumstances, it's exactly for this purpose that the one is not, the previous conviction is not kept against your name forever, that you at a certain stage have the opportunity to have it removed. We can argue about a period like the first gentleman, whether it should not be shorter, and we are looking at that. That's one of the aspects that we're looking at in the review of this process.
And they're also making things easier for people, and the fact that he had to travel from Mafeking to Pretoria to get a form, fills it out, and it turns out to be the wrong one.
That was not necessary. If they contact us, if they phone us, we will fax them forms, we will mail them forms. The forms are available at all offices of the Department of Justice in Pretoria, in Mafeking. There's a High Court there, there's a Magistrate's office, our regional offices are there. So, unfortunately, it was not necessary for the gentleman to travel to Pretoria, and even if you have completed the form, you can just post it. It's not necessary to hand deliver it in our offices in Pretoria.
And how do you find out that the Director General has made a final decision and granted you the expungement?
In terms of the processes, the moment that the police remove or expunge the criminal conviction, the police has to inform the particular applicant, and therefore also on the application form, the address, your home address is a requirement, so that the police can notify you that your record is now clear.
And how many records have been expunged to date?
If I add it up, it's the first year was also a very short period, but I'm going to give it to you briefly. The first year was 3,200. The first year was 2,900. The second year 3,000, and the third year it was a little bit over 3,080.
Okay.
So in total, it was about 900 expungements since the putting into operation of the Act in 2009.
9,000?
Yes.
And typically, what are the reasons that it would be denied? What are you finding? Are people just not understanding the Act?
Well, it's basically only the requirements. Our DG does not really have a discretion. It must only be determined if you qualify, then the record must be expunged. Okay. So if 9 years have lapsed and you were not sent to prison in the meantime for another offence, you were not originally sent to jail, and the fine was not more than 2,000 rand, you will qualify, and the record will be expunged.
All right. Here's some SMSs. Someone says you can ask your guest traffic offences. So would those be in the mix as well?
Beg your pardon? Could you just repeat?
Traffic offences.
Classical offences.
No, traffic.
Oh, traffic offences. Sorry. Yes, there's no distinction between the different type of offences. It depends. You qualify on not on the name of the offence or what the offence was. It's what was the sentence. If you've not been sent to prison, if it wasn't more than 2,000 rand, it doesn't 20,000 rand. It does not matter what was the offence. Traffic offences are included.
And here's another one that says, what about if you are over 10 years? So you were basically convicted for more than what? Or your conviction is what? Over 10 years. But you never went to jail, but the fine was over 20,000.
Unfortunately, then you don't qualify.
Because you have to meet every single one of those criteria.
Yeah.
And Ellen says, is it crime to employ a person with a criminal record?
No, of course, it's generally speaking, no. I must qualify. I mean, there are certain specific requirements. Say, for instance, where you employ people working with children. Then I'm not an expert in that area, but as far as I know, you cannot employ people whose names have been included in the record of sexual offences to work with children. That is understandable. But generally speaking, the employer is free to employ whoever he or she wants to employ. And whether you've got a criminal conviction or not is one of the aspects that employers generally take into account.
And I think, if you're working in, or you're looking for a job in a financial institution, they tend to check that very carefully.
Yes, of course. Honesty is very important to them, and they would not like to take the risk if one tends to be dishonest.
All right, I'm going to check more SMSs. There's one here that says, let's give jobs to those who have not been criminals. We have been too lenient on criminals. But, I mean, some of the cases here are, like Tabitha was saying, common assault. Ulisile, our last caller, was talking about the 17-year-old girl who was convicted of common assault. So what do you, how would you respond to this SMS that says we've been too lenient on criminals?
No, I would not, I think not to agree on that. I mean, after a 10-year period, if a person has not been convicted again, it's an indication that that person had been rehabilitated. The person is not an habitual criminal and so forth. And I tend to think that the book of the past needs to be closed one or other time, and the expungement process is an instrument to do that.
Duma says, if you have 3 records that are 10 years old, can you apply that for all of them to be expunged at the same time?
Yes.
Okay. So when you do it with each of the convictions? Would you fill out 3 different application forms, or do you put your name?
No, you only need to fill in one form.
Yeah.
But there is adequate space there to mention all the offences that you want to be that you want to have expunged.
All right. Let's hear from Ketla in Johannesburg. Hi, Ketla.
Hello, Siki, how are you?
I'm well, thank you.
I'm all right. I'd like to agree with your guest, Siki, that these things are worse than labor brokers. Can I shortly tell you something?
Yes, go ahead.
In 2004, I must admit I committed a crime, and I was unemployed at the time. In 2006, my sister gave me money to make good fortune. I got it, and in 2005 I got employed. And I was still on trial at the time, but I was out on bail. I got employed in 2007. I got sentenced to 7 years. Then I was released in 2010. Now I'm out, and I'm still willing to work, rehabilitated, but I can't because I have a criminal record. I can't get a PDP. That's how sad these things can be sometimes.
Yeah, but you were sent you were sent to prison.
Yes, I served my sentence in prison. I served 3.5 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what's your situation now?
It's worse than before, CG, because I am not employed and I want to be employed. I have my code 14. I can't get PDP because of this criminal record.
Yeah, it's very difficult. All right. Thanks,
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Frederick?
Yes.
You heard Kesha's case, and, I think people, and what he's saying is he's rehabilitated. He hasn't gone and recommitted a crime, and, he feels discriminated against, I suppose.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, that is the position, but, I mean, as you've heard also earlier, other people got a different view on this type of matters. The expungement process is there to assist us for as far as possible, but some things that you did in your past, it's very difficult to set the record straight again, to put it that way.
Yeah.
And one of the consequences of committing crime is that society will view you differently than people that have not been convicted.
All right. John in Victoria. Hi, John.
Good day, Siki. I would just like to know, I've been convicted for drinking and driving. In 2008 it happened.
Yeah.
But I was convicted in 2010. Okay. My first offense. But I'm still employed. Will I struggle to get employment? And will this because they only gave me a suspended sentence of about 1,500.
Okay, but obviously it's on your record.
Yeah.
And you were convicted, you said, in 2010.
Yes. So will I also qualify for expulsion?
Okay, I'm going to find out the expansion at Frederick. Oh, sorry, John. So it was a first offense, drinking and driving, a suspended sentence, so didn't go to jail. Would he qualify?
As soon as the 10 years it lapsed, he will qualify.
So he's also got to wait until 2020 now.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a long time.
Yeah, but to try and answer also his question, I mean, a previous conviction does not mean that you cannot be employed and that you will not be employed. Many people with previous convictions are employed, are having a good life and so forth. In some instances, it makes it difficult. I mean, if the person has to be employed in a position where he has to drive and so forth, naturally one would like to feel safe that that person is able to drive, that he does not tend to drink and drive and that type of thing. And I think one should also keep in mind that many people in South Africa without any previous conviction are not employed. So it's not you're not prohibited from being employed, but it makes it more difficult under certain circumstances.
Here's an SMS from VJ Mtembu who says, I don't know what to do. I fought for a lady with the cops, and then they claimed false charges against me. I was arrested for a single day, and today I have a record. What recourse does this person have?
Well, I think it's like the first one. If a person feels that is not guilty, the expungement process cannot be used specifically for that purpose. Of course, after 10 years, whether you believe you've been correctly or not correctly found guilty, at that stage it doesn't matter. Your record will be expunged if you qualify. If you do not qualify, and you're not happy with the conviction, then there are other avenues and other remedies like appeal and review.
Temba in Durban says, can a person speed up the process after all documents have been sent?
And unfortunately not. We're trying our best. We're processing the documents in the order that we receive it. So the first ones received will be the first ones to have expunged.
All right, I'm being asked for contact details, so let's do that. What's the website first?
It's www.doj.gov.za.
Okay. And the number?
The general telephone number is Pretoria 012 315 1111. And one can then just ask for the directorate legal process, or if they will just say that they're interested in an expungement, they will be put through to our people.
Okay, to your department.
That's right.
And then you'll be able to then either email them the
forms, fax them the forms, or direct them. As I say, there are very few towns in South Africa where there isn't an office of the Department of Justice, and where you can obtain it.
So here's an SMS. Having a presidential pardon and criminal record expunged, must one state this when completing forms?
No, I think the general idea with regard to this is that you view it as having a clear record. I don't think it's necessary to state that.
All right. We're going to leave it there. Thanks, Frederick.
Okay, pleasure.
Thanks, Frederick Heyns is Director of Legal Processes with the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development. So here are those contact details. You can either go to the website, and that's www.doj, standing for Department of Justice, .gov.za. That's www.doj.gov.za, or call 012 315 1111, 012 315 1111, and ask for the Director of Legal Process, or ask for, if you're inquiring about an expungement, then they will take you through to that department.